Continental drift, the story of two mates riding from London to Sydney on KTM 690s, supported proudly by KTM, Rally Raid Products, Adventure Moto in Australia and Adventure Spec in England.
We would fly to Darwin, Australia and meet up with them in a couple of weeks. Unfortunately though, we had fallen behind schedule and we arrived in Darwin a month later than we had hoped. The deserts would be a challenge in the rising heat as the summer season approached. But the greatest challenge that immediately faced us was getting the bikes released from Darwin Port.
Well, here we are in Darwin and we've been stuffed about good and proper by a government department called DAF. I don't know if the left hand, the right hand or the head or any legs know what they're doing. It really has been the worst experience we've had with a government department anywhere in the world. So here we are, our bikes are in the shipping company there, they're all ready to go and we can't get them out until Monday. It really gives me the shits.
But with sunshine like this, you can't keep the shits for too long. We were back on the road, heading for the deserts of Central Australia, and home was just 2 weeks away. But not before we had a swim at Litchfield National Park.
It's great to be back in Australia and humbling to know that we're no longer up the top of the food chain. And there's something out there that thinks of us as breakfast, the hungry croc.
And Darren was quickly learning that Australians were unique in how they interacted with their local wildlife.
Here, Dave, you seen this? Man KO's berserk roo. The cranky female roo stalked Carl Young last week while he was out for a run. Squared up to him and got aggressive, so he punched her in the face.
Over the coming days, Darren would quickly learn there were a whole host of things in Australia that could kill you. And the first rule for Aussie motorcyclists? Never ride between dusk and dawn in the outback.
I call this the killing fields. In the afternoon and the mornings, kangaroos foraging on the sides of the road get absolutely hammered by cars. And in some of their key sites, you may see a dead kangaroo every 500 metres. But the killing doesn't stop there, because then we have hawks that come down to feed on the carrion, and they too get wiped out by the trucks and cars. The problem is though that some of the eagles get up to about a 10-foot wingspan, and I've nearly been taken off my bike by a wedge-tailed eagle, which is about similar to being hit by a frozen turkey at about 110 k's. Not very pleasant.
I'm starting to get used to Australia a bit more now, with the wallabies and the willy willies, the bum nuts, all these other Australian kind of fangled things. It's all going well. Down into the desert today, or getting close, and see what the temperature's like.
And there was one more lesson for Darren. Trucks in the outback are called road trains, and they are over 100 metres long, and overtaking them for the first time is a little daunting. Just a short distance from Alice Springs and the harsh desert, but memories of our journey came flooding back with this statue of an Aboriginal mother protecting her child from a vicious goanna. And just like our reaction to Mother Russia, we were now in the heart of Australia, admiring that same courageous motherly instinct. Desert riding brings with it a whole host of challenges, from sand to corrugations to ruts and stock crossings and road surfaces like marbles.
Darren's finding this rocky surface really hard and it's putting him off, particularly with the extra weight on the bike. It's this gravel stuff, quite large, and it just moves about. It's like riding on marbles, and the best way to do it is at least 120 k's or 100 k's.
Crikey, I needed a new set of underpants in. Going down there about 92 k's an hour, quite fast for me. hit a sandy patch, which is not normally a problem, but it was quite deep, and the back wheel wouldn't rail into it, the rut, and it kept swinging like a pendulum. Because there's so much weight on the back, I thought my number was up. I really did.
With my macabre sense of humour, I really enjoyed being behind Darren when he got the wobbles.
When he hits that sand and I see him get the wobbles and his little bum goes like this. Welcome to Australia, Darren.
We were moving quickly through the outback and had covered about 2,500 kilometres. Sydney was only a week away. A significant milestone for any Australian adventure rider is getting to William Creek, the heart of Australia. And Darren had made it, the long way, all the way from London. Our next stop was the mighty Flinders Ranges. Some of the best adventure riding in Australia can be found in this spectacular area. The geology is what makes this place so special. About 540 million years ago, thick sediments in this area were folded and faulted into a mountain range just made for adventure motorcycling. Wheelie and rock throwing to celebrate our move from the plains to the Great Dividing Range. We had been riding this flat brown land for 4,000 kilometres, and it was great to take the bike for a swim in a river.
Check out the view, mate.
On our last night, we would stay in the tiny logging town of Wollombi at the edge of the Wattigan Forest. The Wattigan Forest was a special place for me. As a young boy with a sense of adventure, I had explored this vast land on my motorbike, and now, 35 years later, I was bringing a riding companion from London to my backyard. To celebrate the last day of our 22,000 kilometre halfway round the world ride, I had a little surprise for Darren. I just couldn't let him leave Australia with the impression that it was a common pastime for Aussies to have fistfights with our furry friends.
Punched her in the face.
Excuse me. Darren, you found my earplug?
Yeah, there's 3 of them. There's these 2 white ones, but I'm sure it's them 2.
Oh, thanks, mate.
There's loads of them around here.
Excellent.
You must have dropped a packet.
It was that sense of humour and camaraderie that had got Darren and I halfway around the world. Sure, we had made mistakes, but our bad decisions had been outweighed by the right decisions. We finished the ride at Manly on the northern beaches of Sydney on the 21st of October 2012, welcomed by family and friends and a keen supporter, local Mayor Jean Hay. After 18 months of planning and dreaming and 4 months of riding, Darren and I had made it from London to Sydney. We had left London with the mistaken belief the bikes would take us all the way. But what we discovered was we couldn't have made it without the goodwill of strangers, who are now our friends. On this journey, we had found some of the best adventure riding country in the world. From the highlands of Kyrgyzstan, with flowing trails through mountain passes and fantastic camping, to the mighty Himalayas, where extreme altitude added to the challenge of traversing roads destroyed by floods and deep bull dust. And finally, the desolate beauty of the Australian outback. And along the way, we also had the chance to sample so many different cultures and to see the amazing variety of ways people live their lives. And that was the icing on the cake. At times it had been a huge challenge, but it had all been worth it, and we were better people for it.
Good news is we've made new friends. Of Kazakhstan, yo!